Yo, what is up everybody? Welcome to episode 3 of Hybrid. It's the beginning of a new year, 2020. After doing that weird, that super weird unboxing video of the Peak Design travel tripod, I was trying to think, well, what kind of photos should I do today? What kind of things have I not tried yet that I want to learn? And what do I want to kind of share with you guys? And I was thinking, well, since I have a really nice sturdy tripod now, why don't I try to get some long exposures? And I'm not talking about like a couple seconds long exposure. I'm talking like 10 minutes. It's going to be a midday shot. I want to get streaks of the clouds streaking by. So that's the goal. And I have a really cool place that I want to take you to. Hey, Jeahn from the future here. I just want to let you know real quick that we're actually not going to do long exposures today. Today's actually going to be all about failure. And you'll see why in a bit, but let's keep going. In the meantime, we have to talk about part 2 of my story about how I kind of grew up, what that did and led to where I am now. And the second half is going to be about after I moved to Los Angeles until now. So when I moved to Los Angeles, I was 18 years old. I remember popping over the valley, or popping over the hill, seeing the skyline of LA, and I'm like, dude, I am gonna take over this city. I was like so hyped, and I was 18, you know, I didn't know, I had no idea what I was doing, but I really was determined to make the most of everything. I got A's in all of my classes. I don't think I got a single B. I got an A- once, because I loved what I did so much. And that was an audio engineering school. I got a prize from, stop sign. I got an award from Musicians Institute on the best post-production audio projects. So I had to do an automated dialogue replacement project. So I took a scene from Tron Legacy and I had voice actors come in and completely redo those. I also did a Foley project. So when the Puss in Boots movie came out, I basically replaced every single sound effect and even the music. I went above and beyond. I was putting out late nights. Like the projects looking back, I'm like, oh, they were so bad. But that kind of sparked my interest in the post-production world. Originally, I wanted to make electronic music and be a producer, and I did that a little bit, but I just burned out so fast. I haven't really developed it since then, so it's been a long time since I've really tried to make a track. It kind of evolved from that to more sound design and film and stuff, because I love putting sound to picture. So that's kind of how that started. And then after I finished my post-production, I decided to do one more 6-month course at Musicians Institute called the Independent Artist Program. Essentially what it is you get to learn how to market yourself, record yourself, produce yourself, and publish yourself. So it's basically making you a self-sufficient musician. And that's where I learned about Photoshop, which was super cool because we had to design our album artwork and a website, and it was a very bare bones class on design, but it was awesome and I loved it. So I started binge watching photo manipulation tutorials. I was super into watching this guy named Alexander Keshelklev, I think is how he said. I haven't looked him up for a long time, but so I kind of tested that out a bit and realized, it's not as fun as I thought it would be, but it does look really cool. And then I was like, how else can I, make a living doing graphic design / Anyway, at that time I was working part-time on the weekends for a business that did like parties across Los Angeles. So I would set up like lights and gobos and speakers and DJ systems. And my very first project was to design a gobo, which is like a light stencil for the name of somebody's bar mitzvah out here. And I gave them options with different fonts. Literally all I did was went to defont.com and I typed out his name and stenciled it out according to the specs they gave me. And and they liked it. It was funny. I made $15 off of those. And that was my first design job. And then I took it further and started making more money doing logos and stuff like that. But just like with music, although not nearly as quickly, I kind of burned out from it. And if I would have stuck with it a lot longer and tried to get bigger clients who let me be more creative and also had a big budget, it would have been great. And I still love to design, but at the same time, that kind of pushed me more into video work, because everybody needs video work, right? So I made the jump to photography because it helped me get outside, number one. Number two, it means the inspiration I'm gathering isn't just from my head. It means I'm actually gathering content from the world, and I'm actually trying to learn composition better because I don't have to create everything from scratch. What I need to do is take what already exists and frame it in a way that's interesting and nice. And so photography this last year has been like a huge release for me, which is awesome. And I don't have to worry about the timeline and playback and all that, which I do full time right now anyway. Am I in a turn lane? No, I'm not. Okay. So that's kind of a canned version of the journey that I've been on since I moved to Los Angeles almost 8 years ago. And I wouldn't have it any other way, honestly. It's pretty awesome. So that's basically it. Now we're gonna go ahead and go try to snag those long exposures. It's gonna be sick. See you in a bit. Best I can do is 5 seconds with 10 stops ND, my iris all the way down to 22 f22, and my ISO at 100. So that's definitely not long enough. Well, you live and you learn. I just sat in a patch of goat heads. Ah, lovely. You just basically witnessed a failure. I don't know what I was thinking. I thought 10 stops of ND plus stopping the iris all the way down would work, but it didn't, unfortunately. So we're gonna have to try something different, I guess. Either wait till the evening and do some long exposures then, or, oh, look at this. Oh, that was gnarly. But yeah, that's kind of just how things go. Sometimes I should have known better, like a 10-minute exposure requires a very tiny amount of light to come through. I would have to have like triple ND filters at 10 stops for that to happen, and I wouldn't be able to see what I'm shooting until I've waited 10 minutes. That's a long time to wait and a lot of trial and error there. So I might have to do some research on it, but I won't let you down. We're gonna find something to shoot today at least, and then we'll take you back home and figure out what's going on then. But yeah, I think of something else. I could do an HDR shot. That's something I've been wanting to do, and that's good for a tripod. HDR. It's an idea. All right, that was failure number 1, and 1.5 with sticking my hand in the goat heads, but now we enter failure number 2. Ooh. That could be really cool right here. Yeah, this is gonna be cool. So I got to this location and it was gorgeous. It was amazing. And I'm like, all right, this will be perfect. I pulled out my camera, set up my, little rig so I could record the screen of my camera and show you what I was doing. I recorded the whole thing. I saved it and ended up losing that footage somehow. So I was like, okay, no problem. I'm gonna go home and I'll just record something in the interior of my house, like get a shot that includes the inside out a window or something and kind of show how I shoot HDR that way. And that failed too. And so at that point I was like, well, there's a theme running through this video that I don't want to kind of pass it up, which is talking about failure and how sometimes things just fail. Instead of going back, re-recording using the native iPhone app, I figured it would make most sense to make this video about failure. So you're gonna see this segment of me taking my trip home, doing the normal thing about like, oh, we're gonna go edit now. But instead of that, I'll meet you back here in just a minute
and we're going to talk about what I've learned.
So we're gonna go home and edit that, and yeah, it's gonna be dope. But meanwhile, we're gonna make a quick trip down to the beach just because we can.
All right, here is what I learned about failure. You hear about failure all the time. Everyone on the internet's talking about it and how it's okay to fail, and I agree with that. Failure helps you to learn and to move on, but I kind of want to talk about the side of failure that I experienced through this whole thing. The whole experience was, it was pretty depressing, and it took me an extra week to put this video out from the time I recorded it that it usually does, because I didn't really know what to do with the footage. I was editing and I just kind of sat there and I'm like, what do I do? Do I need to like reshoot the whole thing? And I really debated that for the whole week. I was like, yeah, I should probably just reshoot the whole thing. But then I was like, well, I'm actually kind of losing on an opportunity to grow and to work in the moment and shift with that moment, if that makes sense. So in this case, the video was obviously pointing towards failure, and I'm like, oh, instead of rejecting that, I should embrace that and make a video about failure. Failure can become a beautiful thing. In fact, the story that you come up with in your head is commonly kind of boring unless there is a problem that you need to solve. And in this case, that was failing, and hopefully this video turns out okay. We'll see. So that's it from me. Next episode, I really hope to take that to the next level and see what kind of stories present themselves. Sorry, again, there's no photography, but I really learned a lot from this, and I'll see you next time.